Naomi.
Well, it's certainly far superior to what they did because they want Charlotte as a babyface right now. That was the whole deal when they.
So is she out of the title picture, or is Natalya going to beat Naomi and it'll be Charlotte versus Natalya?
I have no idea, but I would think that Natalya is probably going to be going to Naomi next. That would make sense coming out of this.
Well, that will at least make sense if that's where they're going.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like, I guess if someone was going to do, but the thing is Carmella's the one who's gotten all the wins over Naomi, not Natalya.
I don't know what's going on then.
They probably don't either. That's the problem.
We had Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, which was by far the best match on the show. They had a great match. AJ was selling a tweaked knee. They did this spot where Owens sent him outside, went up to the top rope. AJ cut him off. TJ Styles clash off the apron, but it didn't happen. Owens hit a cannonball in the corner, wrapped AJ's legs in the ropes, hit another cannonball, single leg crab, ankle lock. None of them were submissions. We had a fight up top. AJ hit a sunset flip power bomb. Later, Owens did his giant sit-out slam off the top. They fought on the apron, and AJ gave him a vertical suplex, not only on the apron, but on the corner edge of the apron, which is brutal. Owens threw him over the barricade. AJ hit a springboard forearm from the barricade. So the finish has a referee counting him out, and AJ grabs the guy who's going to go for a Styles clash on the table, but Owens slips out, yanks him. AJ's foot falls into one of the holes that the monitors go in. He tries to get himself out, but his leg gets tied up in a cable, and Owens makes it back into the ring and wins via count out.
Yeah, it was a different finish.
As far as count out finishes go, very clever.
It was clever, but it still wasn't a very satisfying finish.
It was not a satisfying finish at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, obviously the idea is to keep this thing going, so they didn't want to do a pin. So, there's a lot of ways you could do it, I suppose. But for today, I think no matter what you did, if you weren't going to have a pin, the people weren't going to be happy with the finish. So it was just they chose something that people wouldn't be happy with. And, yeah, it was clever. The match was very good. So, that was... In fact, the match was pretty much, if there was a saving grace of the show, that match was it.
We had Luke Harper, Eric Rowan in the buffer match. They had a solid big man professional wrestling television match here on pay-per-view.
Yeah, well, the problem was that no matter what, like, the crowd was so dead for this match. So it was like, no matter what they did, they hit hard. Luke Harper really hustled, but the crowd was so dead for this match.
Rowan went up top, missed a splash. Harper made a comeback, tope to the outside, sent on into the ring, went back and forth for a while. Rowan keeps crawling to the corner because his mask is there, and it's gonna get him all hyped up for the match. And
gives him superpowers.
Got all hyped up and ran into a discus lariat and was pinned. Actually, closer to a discus forearm because something went wrong. But that was the end.
Yeah.
And finally, Randy Orton, Jinder Mahal. We had Orton attacking him before the bell. He stumped a mud hole in him, beat him all over ringside, tossed him into the ring. They started the match. He continued his beating. Randy finally took him outside, gave him a back suplex on the announce table. They did a deal where Randy got his shoulder rammed into something. And so Jinder ends up putting him in a bunch of shoulder holds and that sort of thing. And Orton finally sidestepped him. Jinder hit the post. They're brawling outside.
They did that post thing. They overdo that spot so much, the shoulder into the post.
Especially when you're Braun Strowman.
Yeah. Well, everyone does. I mean, it's like a thing that's like, it's almost like it's the style to cut off like a comeback. Is you run into the corner and have your shoulder go in the post. But I just noticed, I mean, it's like, it's just a spot that they do so much that was when you see it over and over on the same show, and then you see it in the main event, it's like, God, I mean, and it's a cool looking spot. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but it's like, it's done too much.
So Jinder threw him into the ring. Orton hit the RKO out of nowhere, but his shoulder hurt too bad to cover.
Well, and the Singh brothers pulled him out of the way too.
They pulled him out of the ring after, he hit the RKO. So Orton goes outside. He kills the Bollywood boys. The back suplex is on the table. Second one, he turns and literally grimaces at the camera as if to say, I didn't mean to do that, but oh well. So goes back and drags him into the ring, draping DDT. But then Jinder rushes in, hits the Cobra Clutch Slam, makes the cover, ref counts 1, 2, 3, plays, half goes crazy, half is in despair. Jinder's the new champion, and he celebrates as the show goes off the air.
Yep.
Everybody's witnessed history here.
That's history. Yep. It's a new, it's a new one. It's kind of weird to watch, the way, everything's changing, and this is another example of it. So, there you go. Hopefully they make a bunch of money in India and this works, because it sure sucks here.
Well, SmackDown's coming, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
How was today's Best of the Super Juniors?
Better than yesterday. Let me get my notes here. So it was Will Ospreay and Taka Michinoku, which was actually not anything special at all. That would have fit. It would have fit right in on today's show. It was okay. Will Ospreay had a nice reaction. He won with the Oz Cutter in a short match that was a very professional match where nothing was wrong. And Taka, Taka's like the veteran who knows what he's doing, but didn't do a whole hell of a lot. Jushin Liger and Marty Scurll, which was a good match. Marty Scurll won with a chicken wing. He wasn't as over as in Tokyo, where the people were really for him, because it was kind of a question like, what happens when he goes to the smaller cities. But, the crowd was into the match, more for Liger. Liger was very, very over, and he's 0-3. So, man, I don't know about this. It's like this is one where it's like, god damn, you have an easy one, and it's just like they threw it away. They did it in G1 with Tenzan. They're doing it again, and this is like almost like Vince beating people in his hometown. I don't agree with this whatsoever. But even if he comes back and wins 4 in a row, I hope that's not the case, because I would hate in this tournament for a guy who can go 4-3 and win the block. I just think that you want your winner to go better than 4-3, and it's very possible that's what's going to happen. But we'll see how this keeps going. And then the next match was Dragon Lee and Taichi. So I know there's this big poll on who's going to get the best match out of Taichi, and right now the winner is Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee, this was. Desperado did a whole hell of a lot in this match, interfering, but in Dragon Lee, I thought like between Style Clash and Taichi that this wouldn't be that good, but it was pretty good. Dragon Lee did a lot of good dives, German suplex. The finish was Desperado. Desperado hit him with a chair to the back, and then he got a couple of near falls, but it's kick to the head, Dragon Lee kicked out, and then last ride power bomb, and that was the pin. So Taichi won, but it was a good match, which shocked me. And then the main event was Hiromu Takahashi and Ricochet. Ricochet won the match, and it was excellent. It wasn't as long as their championship match that they had, but it was, it was every bit as good. These guys were in, medium town. It wasn't small town. It was 1,500 people, but they had their working shoes on. These two guys were outstanding together. It's really it was a great match, and Ricochet won. So that was the best match of the day by a sizable amount, or at least the best match I saw, because I don't know what happened on that Evolve show or something like that. That may have been a good show too.
So what is the latest with Ultimo Guerrero and his car?
There's nothing really new. The only thing that's new that we didn't talk about is I said that La Mascara and Maximo were both fired, and actually, as of right now, La Mascara was only suspended. But there still could be more to the story, and in fact, I believe there will be more to the story. But but officially, he is not fired as of a couple hours ago.
The UFC had a bunch of stuff going on today, including a fighter retreat, and
They had the whole weekend.
Yep. And apparently there was an incident involving Chris Cyborg.
There were a bunch of incidents, but Chris Cyborg punched Angela Magana in the mouth.
Yeah.
They got in a big argument. So Angela Magana, who is, I don't know, very crude woman. She made fun of Cyborg's wardrobe and made fun of the looks on Twitter, and Cyborg was screaming at her. And I mean, and it was bad form because it was like Chris was going to the hospital. Her father has cancer. She's going to the hospital to visit her father, and she's dressed, whatever she's dressed in. It's like, it's really not, I don't know if you know, but I mean, you've put the picture out, I suppose, whatever. But anyway, Angela made fun of her, and Chris, so they're yelling at each other, and Chris punched her in the mouth and busted her mouth open, and that was that. So Angela said that she's going to file charges. So, anyway, that's the story.
What else happened?
There was, there was a Snoop Dogg concert. Kobe Bryant talked.
What's the Reebok story?
So the Reebok story was that there was a guy from Reebok and a guy from Anheuser-Busch were talking to the fighters, and they were kind of chastising the fighters about how they are they need to represent the brands better, and I think they don't like them making fun of Reebok. They don't really make fun of Anheuser-Busch, but making fun of Reebok on social media. It's kind of like, don't be doing this. We're your sponsor. So Cajun Johnson, this fighter, says, well, we get what happened to the 80% of our sponsorship money that we don't get anymore? And some fighters kind of were, well, she didn't say that. And others clapped and cheered. So there was a mixed response, and then he was whisked out of the room. So I think that he may have been going to detention. And that was that. Yeah. So mostly, I think, it wasn't like it was like a series of disasters or anything like that. I got the impression it was, there were incidents. There always are when you get 400 fighters together, many of whom don't like each other for a weekend. They're fighters, so some of them are going to have temper issues, and there's always going to be stuff happening. And not every fighter is happy with UFC right now. A lot of them are, but a lot of them aren't. And so that's what the deal was. Everybody was there. They also announced that they have a hospital in New York. So actually a lot of stuff. They basically announced a new medical system. They have a hospital in New York. They're going to have doctors at every UFC event from this hospital that will be, if guys get hurt, they'll be there to check on them. If they need surgery, UFC's going to send them to this hospital. The best surgeons, kind of like what WWE does with the in Birmingham with the James Andrews Hospital. They're going to have basically a hospital that is going to be that UFC is going to promote the hospital, and in return, they're going to do the surgeries and work with the rehab. Their Performance Institute, not Performance Center. Their Performance Institute opens tomorrow, and they're going to what they want is if guys are hurt, they want them to go to Vegas and they're going to give them the best physical therapy that they can. The idea is to re-strengthen them. They want, obviously, the injury rate down. This is the goal of this is the injury rate down, but obviously the injury rate's a real tough issue because the guys are just going to get hurt in this business. It's just the nature of the business. So if you get injured, they want the best medical care in healing you up, so you're not out for so long, and they don't have to cancel as many fights, and guys can rehab, and all that. So that's the goal of what they're doing. They got a whole big new place there. They moved, the new offices and everything. So the Performance Institute opens tomorrow. That's the story.
Alrighty, let's get into the mailbag here. Mailbag at WrestlingObserver.com. This person says, considering Jinder's position on the card before he transformed his body and started hurting guys for real, is there any concern about the message that WWE sends to its locker room by making him the champion?
I already wrote that. What can you say? It's they don't have that mentality right now. In fact, they don't have that mentality right now. But yes, I think that it sends quite the message when you're like, again, if he got himself over first, it'd be one thing. If he was a guy in the undercard who was really talented and just doing really great on the undercard, and they decide to elevate him, it'd be one thing. But you transform your body like that, and then you push. But again, transforming his body helped him. There's no doubt it did. But this was an India play. This was not about normal methods. But yes, with that, does it send a bad message that you're, yes, it does, for sure. But it wasn't like before. This isn't like the in the 80s where the bad message was actually the real message. This time the bad message just happens to be there. But the real message is that they needed somebody. That they decided they have 1 billion social media followers in India, and they're not making any money there. And they decided that one of the issues on why is that we don't have a big-time superstar from India, so we are going to make one. And he was the only one. Because the only other guys they got are the Bollywood boys, and in Vince's eyes, those guys aren't going to be world champion.
This person here says, can Dave explain more about the NWA antitrust lawsuit during the 50s?
That's a long, complicated thing, but promoters that were not in the NWA accused the NWA of a lot of things that were, basically antitrust, blacklisting, all these things that they did. Government went after the NWA. They had to sign a consent decree that they would that Sam Mushnick kind of, with Mel Price, who's a congressman Sam Mushnick was close with, put together, and that they vowed that they would no longer do these things, and then they probably kept doing them. I mean, certainly, I don't know that the whole NWA kept doing them, but they were certainly out. It was a weird thing because it's like the southeastern NWA promoters ended up in the 60s and 70s. They were pretty brutal, in a lot of ways. I mean, as far as like the blacklisting of talent and things like that. But that wasn't like the NWA as a whole. I mean, and there were people who were willing to break ranks all the time. I remember like Bill Watts, for example, when Randy Savage and Ronnie Garvin and Bob Orton Jr. and Bob Roop and those guys, were doing the ICW, going against the NWA promoters in a bunch of different places. It was like, those guys were blacklisted, but Bill Watts could care less. He just goes, no one's blacklisting guys. I want to hire a guy, you're not going to tell me not to. And he hired Bob Roop, he hired Bob Orton Jr. And he was going to hire Randy Savage. But, he told Memphis to hire him because they could make more money with him at first because they had a built-in angle. So he hired Lanny Poffo. Excuse me. So So there was always stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, it was it was just government investigated him in the 50s, and they got lots of testimony, and Jim Wilson's book goes through a whole bunch of stuff they got from the Freedom of Information Act from that era. It's a lot of interesting stuff from as far as what was going on, and there were the different fights and things like that.
This person here says, he hadn't finished the show yet, so I'll skip that one. I was wondering, let's see. Any idea how long Skrull's contract is, and if WWE is interested in him?
One would think they would be interested in him. His original contract, I believe, was 1 year, but he had a 6-month out, in the sense that if he wanted to get out in 6 months, he could. I don't know what There's a lot of guys. It's interesting. I pretty much tonight, one of my friends was. But anyway, one of the guys who I was pretty much, I'd already figured was WWE bound. It was kind of like, talking to him, and he said, he's making more money than I've ever made before. I'm not so sure about this anymore. So, Marty Scurll just joined the Bullet Club. So, I'm not sure, I don't know that it's a lock. A lot of those guys don't go. I know Will Ospreay, again, and this could have been a promo, but Will Ospreay, after the Ricochet match the other night, I mean, he was adamant about all these rumors and things about what I'm going to do. He goes, I am happy here. I am going nowhere. Of course, he signed a 2-year contract a year ago, so he's got a year to go either way. But, he's done interviews where he's just, he's talking like he's just not interested right now. Not that he would never do it, but a lot of those guys, I mean, I've talked to a lot of those guys who, I know one guy who outright told me that he's just not interested in doing it. He's making a big living and all that, and then there's guys who are making great livings who are not disinterested in going, and would go, but they're not gonna go just to go. They're gonna, they're not gonna go to NXT and make 1/3 the money that they're making, 1/6 the money that they're making. But it's not like they got any reason not to go if the opportunity arose. But it would have to make sense financially. So, I mean, WWE is going to be so loaded with talent in the next 2 years. I've said that before. I don't know what, will they make best use of it? This year's not been one where I'm very, I go from the idea that they're going to be so loaded with talent because of all of these guys, when you look at on the indie scene, that are going to end up there. Because even though some will not, some will for sure. And some of them are great. And, but, I mean, will they make use of them? I mean, like, if they're small guys, you can put them to 205's turned into a kiss of death. Except for Neville. But for everyone else, it's just been a kiss of death. So it's just like, they've got to, it's like, it's a weird situation, because it's like, you go there and if nothing, it's real easy to go there and have nothing happen for you, and just kind of be there. And it's not necessarily, the most lucrative thing. And it's not necessarily the most satisfying thing. But if they're going to go with you, yeah, that's there's no better position financially in the business than if they're going with you on top than in WWE, of course, unless you're Okada or something like that, where that's not the case. But for anyone else, that's the case.
This person says, any idea where No Way Jose has been? He got beat up at the last takeover and was never seen again.
He's on. They haven't put him on TV, but he's at house shows every night. So they use him as an opener to get the crowd going. So they just don't have a TV program for him. That's all. But he's still out there.
This This person says,
By the way, did you notice the thing on tonight's show when they were doing the what's it called, the video game thing?
They used everybody's other name, Austin Creed and Athena.
Well, the thing with Athena was Ember Moon was that she's not her in the video game commercial.
Well, it could have been filmed a long time ago.
I know, no, I know it was. But the point is that shouldn't you have like quality control that if you're having a big storyline that someone is hurt, and she is hurt, but if you're doing a storyline that someone's hurt, that you don't put them on the show not hurt?
I guess, but it's a commercial, so it didn't bother me.
I would have better quality control than that.
This person says, I heard recently that Regal was at the latest All Japan show at Korakuen.
Yeah, today.
Besides Miyahara and Zeus, is there anybody in particular you think WWE would be interested in?
Ishikawa. There's so many guys there. Nomura. I mean, young guys and things that are good. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I don't know. There's a lot of guys there. Even Jake Lee. Who else? Gosh, I mean, the Zeus and Bodyguard is a team. But I don't know. No, they're a good team. Sawama, Joe Doring. I mean, they had a hell of a carnival tournament. Maybe that's why he's there. The word about maybe they saw some of that carnival tournament and saw that there's a lot of good talent there. Kind of too bad because Akiyama's done a hell of a job turning the company around this year. And their business is way up. And you don't want it to be like Stardom when your business is up 30%, and then all of a sudden your business is probably not going to be up 30% next year. So because that's the beast. That's the nature of the game right now. And it's always going to be. That's just how it is.
All right, everybody, on that note, we're going to wrap it up. We will be back tomorrow after Raw. If you missed last night's show, we did a show talking the TakeOver event and a ton of news, so check that out. New back issue of The Observer is up tomorrow. A lot of other stuff as well.
is as far as you can get, huh? That's good to know. Alright. Good shit. Have a good night, guys.